Hello everyone, welcome back to Brushes with Beck. Today's video I am going to be colouring in this drawing I did of a red-capped plover. You will have seen the reference photo very briefly at the start of this video. Now this is the first time that I am using Canson Mi-Teintes paper. It is a toned grey paper, as you can see, so I thought I would give it a quick go with a small drawing. I'm using my pretty new Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils in this video, and I'm really enjoying these pencils so far. As you can see, I've just laid in a few white areas. I wasn't sure how the white was going to go on the toned paper, so I've laid in a few white areas first just to see how that looks before laying in a couple of dark spots as well, and then moving on to colour in the beak, because that's one of the darker areas in the picture, and if I can get that solidified in, it'll help me unify my entire drawing as I colour everything and get my values accurate for my darks and my lights and all that sort of thing. So this is actually only I'd say the second proper drawing I'm doing with Polychromos. The other one you will have just seen the video of was of my parrot Dory. That was a very long process. That paper wasn't as good as this paper. The Canson Mi-Teintes has like a nice, it's almost gritty, but it's not really gritty. I'm actually using the reverse side of the paper because Mi-Teintes is actually a pastel paper, so it's quite textured, but the reverse side is more smooth but still has that grittiness to grab onto the pigment from the pencil. I'm really not sure if I've explained that very well, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So I've just filled in the eye on this plover on my reference photo. This plover is actually quite small because my photo is small, so all I can see of the eye is blackness really with the highlight. So that's what I've done on this image before I'm filling in some details on the head. Now the head sort of has some fine scalloping on it on the feathers, so I'm trying to get those little dark areas and the light areas. I've gone in with a bit of blue to try and capture the sort of the blue colour from the sky reflecting onto the feathers. Sometimes you get that impacting on the colour. So I'm trying to lay in a lot of colours to get a nice depth in those colours rather than just orange or tan. And also because I only actually have 12 colours in Polychromos, which is very limiting, which is another reason I've chosen this bird, because I assumed that I would be able to get most of the colour values and tones pretty accurate with my limited colour range. So I've pretty well laid in most of the head, and as you can see that's why they're called a red-capped plover, because they've got that nice reddish orange cap on their head. So now I'm just laying in some shadows for the underside of the bird. The underside of the bird is completely white, and of course most of you probably know that white areas are almost never white. They are grey, yellow, blue, green, whatever colours are being reflected onto that white area for the shadows and the highlights. But because my colours are very limited, I'm just trying to do the best that I can, laying in that light blue for underneath. Also some of the water is being reflected up there, which can add that nice blue colour, and a little bit of yellow as well. It seemed to go nicely, and then I'm laying in the white on top of that, adding a little bit of feather texture but not too much at the moment, before moving further back in the bird. Now I'm just adding in some fine strokes for a little bit of, you know, hinted at detail, basically, adding a few little fine feathers near the face. Just refining some of those areas to get them looking a little bit more believable, I suppose, rather than just being blocks of colour. So now I'm just going in to the back of the bird and just adding in some guidelines, I suppose, for where I'm going to be putting some detail later on. The back area of the bird is quite complex in terms of colour tones and the way they change and the number of different colours and all the feathers, and I'm sort of putting it off until last because I didn't really want to attempt it yet. So then I moved on to some of the primary feathers above the tail and just getting those in, putting them in nice and solid and getting a good foundation for the rest of those detailed feathers. Now I do apologise for my lighting in this video. This is only the second video where I've filmed myself drawing something, so it's been a real learning curve, learning what I can use and how good my lighting is, what affects my lighting. Obviously I'm putting my hand around the top to get a better angle on some of my pencil strokes, but then that's creating shadow on the drawing itself, which makes it harder for you guys to view. So I'm still just sort of fumbling my way through that process. I'm using light from a window, I've got a lamp and the light from the ceiling, but it's not quite enough. So hopefully at some stage I'll be able to get some proper lighting set up so we don't have that issue. I could rotate the paper to avoid putting my hand in front of the light source there. However, if I rotate the paper, that also makes it harder for you to watch this video, which is why I taped the paper down, because I always rotate the paper that I'm working on so I get a better angle for my hand. So it's been very challenging for me to learn to draw like this, because I have to really adjust what I'm doing to accommodate for filming. As you can see, I've just laid in those tail feathers. They're really quite dark, which means they're nice and bold and they stand out. And now I'm adding detail in the back, getting a few different colours in there, some different dark shades and lighter shades, the light brown, the black. I'm just really trying to place those colour variations in the right areas so that when I come through and do the final details, it actually looks believable, I suppose, and realistic. So this is the first time I've ever drawn a shorebird, so it's been a bit of a challenge, especially from such a small photo reference when it's hard to really pinpoint exactly what goes where. And ideally, always blow up your photo reference, have it on your computer, make sure it's large, it's as large as it can be so you can see all that detail. Don't work from a tiny photo like I did. You're just setting yourself up to have problems, like I did. But that's okay, I got there in the end. So now I'm just adding in some fine details with the white pencil, just really trying to get some feathers in there, make it look a bit fluffy, a few more shadows, just refining the shape of the bird and the values in the image, trying to get it looking like it is actually a real bird and not just a cartoon drawing on a page. And that's the real challenge, is firstly you've got to get your sketch right, and secondly you really have to get your values right to make it pop off the page and be believable, because if it's too flat in the values, or if the values are too extreme, it can easily look cartoony. Alright, so last things last, because I've been avoiding them as well, onto the legs. Again, there's a lot of detail in the legs, but I can't really see them in my photo reference because my photo is so tiny. So I'm doing the best that I can, but I am sort of just fluffing it, so which always makes it look not as good as it should. But I'm trying to follow the shadows as best I could, because there's some nice shadows on those legs in my photo, but the detail is just too small for me to be able to get it onto this image. So just smoothing that out to try and make the legs look a little bit shiny, because bird legs are, you know, shiny when they're wet, because they're like a skin. And there you have it, the finished little piece. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please, please, please give me a like or a comment or subscribe to my channel. Any of those three things really helps me to grow as a channel. Really hope you like this video and stay tuned for some more. See you next time.